Welcome to Talk Shop Podcast, here with Allon, Avgi, and our guest, Cody Buffinton. Cody is a travel YouTuber, vlogger. He's got way more followers than Steve. Shout out to Steve Yallo, around 400,000. He's cool dude, back in New York, making things happen in real estate, and we connected through social media. We met for the first time here in my office to film this podcast and get it out. I don't know what channels we're posting this on, but probably every single one that we can. If you're tuning in on YouTube, Insta, wherever it is, just give it a like, follow, subscribe, whatever you can to help us share and grow. Enjoy the podcast, guys. I really hope this provides some value for you. We talked about cool things from business in Bali to life in New York and everything in between. Thanks for tuning in.
You are now listening to Talk Shop with Allon Avgi.
Like I told you, I wanted to create a podcast so we could have more good content, bite-sized and everything, along with like long-form content. But I realized I wanted to create a podcast, and we were throwing out names, and I do Talk Shop Tuesdays every Tuesday. I missed last week because I had COVID, and the week before that.
And today's Tuesday.
Yeah, today's Tuesday, so this will be the Talk Shop Tuesday. We'll call it Talk Shop Podcast, and we're kicking it off with you, Cody Buffinton. Right, Buffinton?
Exactly, yeah.
Awesome. So you had a podcast. You're already a pro.
I did like 6 episodes. It was really tough when I was traveling. I also had to carry around multiple tripods, multiple cameras. It was tough.
And what did you say? I heard you guys over talking. You were doing like around the world in really nice places.
Yeah, so my podcast was, since for the past 5 years I've been traveling and doing YouTube full time, and I wanted a podcast similar to you so I could get more content, more stuff like that. And so mine was called the Explore the World Podcast. My YouTube channel is Exploring with Cody.
Yeah.
And so I would like take people who were, friends or acquaintances or people I just randomly met when I was visiting a new country. And the difference between this podcast or like a normal podcast is because I was traveling, I wanted to showcase the cool locations.
But that's hard.
That's really hard, especially getting the lighting right and like, the sun up in the shadows is like, I'd start the podcast and then 30 minutes later the light would completely change and it'd be like shadow. So it was a headache. This one's a lot better.
Yeah, I have an office.
Exactly.
Somewhere people can come.
I didn't have an office. I had a street corner and that was it.
And I'll tell you the truth about why I liked the thought of podcasting. It might have been Steve's idea, I don't remember, but we're shooting content all the time when I'm speaking to the camera, and I'm like, I want to be more genuine. I like meeting with people and talking to people, and I like understanding other businesses. Like, it's my fun, and then how can I incorporate that into another business that I have going on, or what I could change or be involved in, just constantly sharing ideas and meeting new people and seeing how you could grow or help each other, feed off each other in a good way, you know, and I don't see a better way to do that than podcasting.
No, I agree. I think podcast is a good way to not only meet new people, but it's a good way to get that kind of like pillar content, that long form content that you can just kind of chop up. You can get quotes from it. You can get, little bite-sized pieces that'll go on Instagram, TikTok, all these different things. So it's good to get that like one long form content that you can kind of chop up. And that was the goal for me too.
So you have much more followers than I do on social media. Many more.
Kinda.
You're much more popular than I am. And you DM'd me, right, to talk about real estate?
I did, yeah.
So how did you come across my page?
I was just telling Steve this actually. So Steve, I actually know. So funny enough, I found, I think is your cousin David on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because I was getting into real estate and then he just came across as real estate. So it popped up. And then from there I went to watch his YouTube videos. And in one of his videos, you and Steve were in the video. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I know Steve.
That's funny.
And so then I started following you as well. And then at some point, a few weeks ago, you had put out some story saying you wanted to talk to people who were either in real estate or something along the lines. And I was kind of getting into it. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember that. That's the conversation we had when we were talking about you were doing like digital media in real estate for developers and stuff.
Yep.
And you said you were closing one big client, but did
that
happen?
It's still in the works. So the issue with so I'm working essentially going to be working with this private equity client, and the issue is they currently have a company who's terrible, but there's a period on the contract, so it ends in January. So that's probably when I'll be taking over. But they're like a big real estate marketing firm, but they suck. And so like I'm telling them all these different ways where they could be getting, better returns on their Facebook ads and whatnot.
And the private equity firm, what do they do?
So they have 43 apartment buildings across Manhattan.
Wow.
And which is like 2,000 apartments. And of those 2,000, they have about 200 vacancies right now, which if you do the math is about, at minimum, $500,000 lost rent per month in just apartments. So their Facebook ads are terrible, and my expertise is running Facebook ads, doing digital media for them, for companies. And I saw what they had coming out on their Facebook, and I was like, this is absolutely terrible. And then, funny enough, my friend, well, the way I got introduced to that company is I had a TV show last year where I was traveling around the world, and funny enough, my location manager, scout from one of those episodes, he was a real estate agent part-time in New York City.
Okay.
And so he followed me on Instagram, and I was looking for real estate agents to work with. And he's like, oh, I'm working with this big private equity company. Why don't you come in and talk to us? And so that's how I got introduced. It was like all through just like people I had known networking. So
really cool.
That was kind of the advantage of like having a following to start, is like I got introduced to a bunch of people who I could start working with right away.
And you have a big following, 400K on YouTube.
Yeah, about a little over 400 and like 20 something like that. Yeah.
And like 43K, I think I saw on Instagram.
Yep.
Do you have a personal page too?
Yeah, so I'm kind of going through a process right now. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the whole, because my whole thing was travel for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But with COVID going on, it's been tough to kind of keep up that brand.
Every travel vlogger's
it's
story.
like it's tough. Yeah. So I was trying to figure out what I want to do, and that's why this year I got into digital marketing. I started with running ads. Well, I had to learn everything this year, so I'm pretty fresh, new into it. So starting in January, I learned everything about ads. I started working with e-commerce brands and info product brands, which is kind of like the top tier of hardness in terms of like Facebook ads.
Yep.
So I started working with them.
It's all conversion based.
Exactly. It's tough. Like when you have to run webinars, like the different steps to make it go right is really tough.
Really?
And so I was doing the hardest thing there is for Facebook ads for a long time. And then I was like, why am I doing this? Like, what's my ultimate reason? And it was because I wanted to get into real estate investing. Like, I've always been interested in real estate. My dad, he's been a general contractor, and he's built houses from the ground up.
In Long Island?
No, in Connecticut.
Okay.
So I'm from Connecticut. And so, and then my mom, for a while, she was a interior designer. So I've always really liked that stuff. And I knew my long-term goal, even when I was traveling, was to save up money to get into real estate investing.
Yeah.
And so probably about August or late September, I went from running ads for e-commerce to starting to run for real estate. So I knew how to do all the ads, but I needed to now learn how to specifically turn it into running them for real estate agents, for private equity, all that.
I want to go back for a second when you were explaining what the private equity firm wants you to do. So they have a leasing office?
Yeah. So
and they want you to run the ads for their leasing, for their buildings, so it could go back to their leasing
for their
office.
multitude of buildings, yeah.
They don't have agents renting out there.
No, so they're kind of odd in that they have one guy. They don't, for some reason, trust regular agents to come in and rent out and to come and show their places because they don't want to disrupt the tenants. So they have my friend is their one real estate agent who's showing their 43 buildings across Manhattan.
Wow.
So he goes up and down all day long showing different apartment buildings.
And he works for them directly?
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard of other private equity firms that do something similar on the commercial side, whatever, and they give their agents like top dollar.
Yeah.
Like I remember one leasing office gave their agents like 8% commission on their commercial offices. But I just don't get it, because then there's like the big boys, like CBRE, Cushman Wakefield, and JLL, all these guys that this is what they do all day. So if they if Compass agents or Douglas Elliman go to this private equity firm and they're like, here is the tenant. They pass all your criteria, they're exactly what you're looking for, everything's in line, they have the money, here's the tenant. Like, why wouldn't they just rather sub it out?
So the issue actually is it's because of this year. Apparently their buildings have been so high in demand, they never had vacancies before, so they never actually had to have people going and showing them. There's been a wait list for all of their apartments for a long time. So they've done no marketing up until this year, like ever.
So this is brand new.
This is brand
COVID.
new. Yeah, so my friend came in because he was doing it. He was working, I don't know which, agent, brokerage, but he was kind of just doing it here and there. And then he got recommended to this place who brought him in as the first time ever, like person to show off these rentals. So they haven't done any marketing up until 2020 because they've just had such high demand.
Wow. So COVID messed them up big time.
Bad.
And now, look, you're reaping the benefits, right? You're going to run their digital marketing, and they seem like a big company. That's a big account.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I'll work with real estate agents who are, maybe showing a couple buildings here and there, but having 43 buildings and 200 apartments we have to sell.
That's like the hustle, the real estate agents. You got to work with them. They're your bread and butter, get one in, one out, whatever. And then you want those whale accounts, like the 43 buildings or like 25 buildings, all these PE and family offices. And once you have enough whale accounts, you could start, simmering down on the hustle, the daily grind.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal. And especially since I'm just kind of starting, in the real estate realm, having this like right off the bat, just because a friend recommended me, like having that mutual connection was so.
What's an account
cool.
like that look like? Like what type of ad budgets or what, and how do you charge? And I'm saying this mostly for the people following and listening that they also want to get into real estate and they're also doing digital marketing, maybe in Wisconsin or something, and they don't know how to charge properly or anything.
So it really depends on the market. We're in Manhattan, so typically there's bigger budgets in Manhattan or just New York in general, some of these bigger places. So working with a real estate agent, it might be like $1,500 per month is what I charge. There's a couple of platform fees that like comes out of my commission, but they spend about $500 in ads per month.
Okay.
That'll get them, over time it'll compound, so it won't happen the first month, but over the next couple of months, they'll start to get some sales and it'll be really profitable for them. For a client like that, private equity, it'll be multiple $1,000s per month because we are running maybe, they actually don't really have a budget. They've got so much money. So they're like, just spend as much as you can. We want to fill these as fast as possible.
Yep.
So with a normal agent, it's coming out of their pocket, the $500. This is a big group. There's multiple partners who own the whole, company.
But they're smart, right?
They're smart. They're not like just waste it, but
they'll try it, A/B testing, and then give you a hard set number.
So they want to start off with about $2,000 in ad spend per month, and then ramp it up from there based on what's working, what's not.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's great. And then you want to take your funds that you make from this digital marketing, what you learn in real estate here, and start going into real estate investing.
Exactly. And there's another really cool thing that I can start doing, which I want to start doing, is I'm going to get my real estate license in Connecticut. And the only reason I want to get my real estate license is because then I can legally take referral commissions if I give agents leads who aren't my clients.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not charging them on retainer, but I know, maybe in Wisconsin, I have a friend who's an agent and I get a lead, I can send them this referral lead and I'll get 25% of their commission. So
Isn't that a state-by-state basis though? Like if you're in Connecticut, you can't do New York?
Not if you're doing referrals.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I was, because I know what you mean, there's like reciprocity rules with like real estate agents and all that.
Yeah.
But if I get my license, I can do referrals even across state lines.
I have my license here in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I do like 1 deal, 2 deals a year. I use it mostly for friends or just like a one-off deal.
That's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah, it's great. Keep in mind, like my cousin, who David, who you saw on TikTok, he's like the number 3 or 4 real estate agent in Brooklyn. I mean, he's a beast.
Yeah.
The guy sold like $60 million in condos this year.
Yeah, I know.
So he's
he's
serious.
He's killing it.
But he always jokes with me. He's like, Allon, you have your real estate license. You do 1 or 2 deals a year, and you make like triple what an average agent makes. It's all relationships. I'm telling you. I had a friend. This is when I got my license. I don't have my license. I want to get into real estate investing. I buy a house, right? And I find this big deal that's actually owned by my friend, and it's to build 20 houses. And I'm like, this is sick. Like, I want to do this, but I couldn't figure it out back then. It was too fast. He already had the approvals. He was in the midst of selling it. And I'm like, I want to do this. Like, I need to find a way to get involved. So I made some calls, and he was getting offers at like, I don't remember, the $1.8 million range. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I can get you more. And the deal fell through, and he was like freaking out. So I'm like, okay, I got this. I made some calls to people I knew in the area that build, and then another call led to another call, and another one to another one. And lo and behold, this builder George ended up picking it up for 1.855 million, and they're like, Allon, you're entitled to commission, whatever it was, 3-4%. You need to get your license to get it. I'm like 3-4%. That's like 60 grand, you know. So I went out and got my license.
So you didn't even have your license at that time.
No.
Wow. And I'm surprised they're like, you need to get your license. They just like, they told you need to go get it so they can give you the money.
Yeah, which, honestly, I know much better now. If you're a commercial broker, you don't necessarily need a license to get paid a referral fee or a finder's fee, because that's all it is at the end of the day. If I frame it as a finder's fee, I found this property, I'm not splitting commissions, I want you to pay my company, 50 grand in exchange for me getting you this contract.
Yeah.
That's
all it is.
I didn't need to get my license and jump through all the hoops and everything, but I did because I didn't know, better, and then I got a commission of like 60 grand, and I was like, holy shit, this is sick. So I took that money, pushed it into the deal I was working on at the time, which bailed me out, and I just did another deal and another deal and another deal, but these are all like investment deals. Like I would buy them, renovate, rent, refinance, flip, all this stuff. And then another deal fell on my lap from another friend I knew, and that was also like a $1.3 million deal. And I needed my license. I was the sole agent on that deal.
So you got 6%.
I got 6% on that, yeah.
Oof. See, that's what I want to do. Like, there's some, like, in Long Island, there's some pretty expensive houses. Like, in, other states, you're not going to see as many $1.8 million.
Well, in Greenwich.
I was going to say, that's my goal, is I want to start working in some of those areas. Where there's less, there's a lot of brokers in New York.
Yep, so many.
There's a lot of brokers, and I'm from Connecticut, and I want to start investing there, but also, in Greenwich, there's a guy who's selling a $35 million mansion. And I also want to talk about that too, is I want to start putting some of these on YouTube and kind of growing my YouTube as well at the same time.
Like the Sirhan style, where he posts everything. And
yeah, exactly.
He just got this tremendous building. He just got the exclusive. And they're saying the only reason he got it is because he's genuinely pushing the Excel brand to grow through social. And that's why they gave it to him. And it's so true. He's the biggest in social, so he's handing that off to whoever he's representing and pushing on a big scale. It's so funny because now these contracts are going from I'm going to give you 5% commission, you have to split it XYZ, you have to stage the place, you have to do virtual staging, and you need to have 6 open houses in 2 months or something like that, right? That's typically what you see in Manhattan or Long Island from well-known developers or people that know what's going on.
Right.
Now it's more I want 5 posts on social media, I want a video walkthrough, a drone shot, all these things that weren't the case 10 years ago.
These are YouTube deliverables. These are what I did do for brands back in the day.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And now it's developers.
Yeah.
I have houses that I'm about to start selling, and I'm giving it to this realtor, this woman who's a hyper-local, who's been giving me deals for years. It's all relationship-based. But I can't help but think if a kid swoops in there with 400,000 followers and goes, I'll start posting for you to get you more deals or something like that. I'll push to bring in business if I get the exclusive on this, this, and this. I feel I would give it to him.
That's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do in Connecticut. Yeah.
You have that leverage. Yeah, that's huge.
Exactly. That's why I'm trying. That's why I say I was trying to go through a little bit of a rebranding. Now, for the past 5 years, I've been traveling, doing all this stuff. But at the same time, a lot of the things I did was showing off really nice locations, hotels, places I was staying at along the road. So I don't think it's going to be too far off of my brand to kind of switch to now showing off mansions in Connecticut or New York.
So you're going to stay put for a bit?
For a little bit, yeah. I'm going to get my license in Connecticut, and then I'm going to... Long term, I want to get into real estate investing.
What type? Do you know?
I'm still working on it. I'm still kind of early on, but my first one is I want to probably do a house hack, get into that, borough house hack, maybe duplex, triplex in Connecticut. Take that, refinance, maybe get into quad. But I don't know. For a while, I wanted to do, just under 4 units for residential for a long time. But then I started seeing people doing apartment buildings, and then I started seeing people doing commercial warehouses where their tenant is like FedEx, and they're making like, 127.
Keep in mind, it's
I'm
like really
wow.
hard.
Yeah, I know.
What
I
you're
know.
talking about, like.
But this one guy, I've been talking to like so many people like you and other investors and just learning stuff. So it's not that I do know they're all hard. I'm just also trying to figure out which path I want to go down.
Yeah,
So.
because like doing digital media for real estate, like that's cool. And if you make enough money and you want to invest, whatever amount of money you make, and you want to invest, like there's so many avenues to invest without being like a principal, So you got the house hack idea right. It sounds like you researched it, and you can do that.
Yeah.
Right. Then it becomes managing the tenants and the property. So if you have a competitive advantage in Connecticut with that, it sounds like you do because you have your dad who's a contractor. It sounds like you have a little circle over there. You get the right property manager. All right, cool. You got one. But then like a FedEx warehouse, that's a totally different realm. First you got to find the building.
Yeah.
And you're either buying it with FedEx or without FedEx. And if it's with FedEx, you're buying like a 4 cap, right? Because they're a national tenant, or a 5 cap, and that's not a good deal. It's for you and me because we're not worth $100 million. Unless you are, and I don't know about it yet.
Not yet.
So yeah, with time. But then you need to find a shitty building that you're going to hopefully renovate and loop in a tenant like FedEx, which is so hard to do. It's so hard to find that right building, invest all that money. You're gonna have millions of dollars because FedEx is coming in and they're coming in with like serious leases, attorneys, everything in line, terms, and you got to satisfy that. I wish I had that in my hand right now in my court. I just don't right now, and I'd like to work towards it, but I start small and then scale up. So like
Yeah, that's my goal too.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get FedEx like next week. That's maybe my goal long term is to deal with less tenants and deal with higher tier tenants.
And the other option, what I was getting at, is you could passively invest in like a fund or somebody you trust, like assuming somebody like me had a fund, which I don't right now.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I'm actually a lot more interested in the hands-on part
Being
of
a
it.
principal?
I like being in the deal, going around. Like, I love going around to places. Like this past year has been so tough being like trapped inside because I'm so much of a person who wants to go around, be out in the action and like doing everything. So I definitely want to be more hands-on.
Yeah, that's good because you know yourself.
Yeah.
I'm in such a weird spot right now with my business because I have all these houses. I'm looking at industrial space right now. I have a few industrial tenants that want to hop in with like top dollar rents.
Yeah.
And industrial's so hot right now. And I feel like it would be much easier to handle because you're not dealing with the residents, broken kitchen, broken this, broken, toilet.
Sure.
You're dealing with triple net lease. I'm walking away, you deal with everything. I want nothing to do with it, and I'll see you, in 5 years when we renew the lease.
Exactly.
So I'm looking at a space right now, 2,500 square feet, very small, with a tenant that specifically wants that place. They have the money, they just don't understand financing, and they want they want the ability to be able to move in 10 years if they want to grow or go somewhere else.
Right.
And to me, 10 years is plenty of time if I'm buying like a 14 cap.
Yeah.
I'm going to get all my money back out of there in like 3 to 5 years. But it's definitely not the easiest thing to do. I'm trying to gauge, am I just going to go massive now? Like much bigger because I'm building 16 units, I'm building houses, I have houses. Like I might start liquidating some of my smaller stuff and just going, bigger, maybe even out of state. I'm looking out of state in like Houston. I've been going back and forth to Houston nonstop, gauging properties, meeting property managers, and maybe I'll buy like a 30-unit complex there, get my feet wet with that. If it works out, I'll buy like 100 units, and
Yeah.
feel like it might be good to be a little bit farther away. There's hands-on things that like suck, dude. Like it's hard, It's like the tenants. I feel like they're always out to get you. Everybody's out to get you, but maybe that's just New York.
Maybe I'm not in the space yet, but I totally agree. I want to be in the field in terms of like going and looking at places. I'm not trying to be like the property manager, you know, so I'm trying to hand that off as soon as I can. But my goal is that my marketing agency will be able to fund my deals, and then, you know, I'm able to overlook the renovations, the rehab of this place, and then, you know, go and find another place, and then my agency will then fund that, and, you know, have these different avenues of places. But you know, I want to be in the field, but like I'm not trying to be, you know, the landlord, the property manager, you know.
Yeah. That's a great strategy. If you stay away from the property management side, I think you'll be much happier.
No, I'm not trying to do that.
I just hired 2 people in-house to basically take over all the property management. We started a property management company. They're going to handle that. My properties are paying the property management company a fee every month. I don't want anything to do with it. I want it more institutionalized, because once you're hyper involved, you know, and you look at every cent, which is how I am, I get crazy, you know, and I think that's why I do well, because I do get so crazy. But it's just, it gives you growing pains, you know, like I'll tell you this, you won't believe this. Why was I on the phone back and forth when you walked in? I was like, let's talk on the podcast. We said we'll talk just on the podcast. Like, we're going to leave it all here instead of talking before. But I was on the phone like crazy because we have this tenant who is nuts. She's absolutely crazy.
Are you gonna have to evict her?
Oh yeah, big time. So she moved in before signing the lease by illegally taking possession in the middle of COVID.
She's squatting?
So she's basically squatting, but she moved in and she started paying rent. And we're like, okay, you know what? We were underwriting this tenant. She didn't pass the test. We weren't going to rent to her because this whole thing with her husband and all this stuff, we're like, this is a mess going to happen. We're not going to rent to her. We do daily property checks. We get to the property, she's in the property. So you contact the police, hey, there's a woman that she's not supposed to be here, but she took possession and she has the money in her hand. And the police are like, this is a landlord-tenant matter. Take it up with the court. You see, you go to Texas, the police are like, you're out now. Get out right now.
I think that's a New York thing. Maybe you're having trouble because there's New York. It's a lot more like they have the tenants have a lot more
rights.
Rights.
Yeah,
right?
It's a tenant-friendly state, no question about it. Get this. This is the very beginning. We finished the property. Everything's done. It's beautiful. We worked there. We did so much work there. Steve is shooting footage with his drone, right? He's doing drone shots. Everything's done. It's cool. We did a lot of work there. And this woman comes out. This is like her first week in the property or something like that. And she paid us, mind you. She paid us security. She paid us first month rent. We're like, okay, I'm not happy about this, but she's here. It's too late. And the police won't get rid of her. She sprays Steve's drone with a hose. I'm not even kidding. This psychotic woman. So we all have it all on footage.
Did it go down?
Did it?
No, it didn't go down, but I was so confused. It was so weird.
He was in the back of the property. She was spraying his drone.
Wow.
She tried to drive into him with her car.
Yeah.
Like, this woman's nuts.
Psycho.
And this is why she didn't pass our test. We're like, we're not renting to her. But she illegally moved in, and then you can't do anything about it. You could get crazy, but it doesn't matter. You're not moving her.
Right.
You know, where are you going to take her? So a month goes by, and she runs into my father. My father's working on site at the property. He's doing an inspection, and because there's a few units there, he's doing an inspection. She runs into him. She goes, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm the new tenant. He goes, oh, I'm the landlord. I wish he didn't introduce himself as the landlord. Now we've been disconnecting. I don't want the tenants. I want to disconnect, you know, because it could only lead to trouble when you scale. When you're small, you're hands-on. When you scale, you can't be everywhere at once. If they manage to find out who you are or get your phone number or something, you're always the bad guy. So this woman meets my father. She goes, hey, I want to get a new stove. Can I take your phone number? My dad's so nice. He's like, of course, take my number. If there's ever any issues, let me know. I'll make sure it's handled immediately. I want our tenants to be happy, everything. And mind you, I have this property with a few partners. My father's involved. I do a lot of things with partners, and my dad's looped in with me on almost every deal I have going on. So he's involved. Great. A month goes by, and this woman starts texting him like, I love you, all this stuff. And he's like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're a tenant in one of the properties. I don't even know you. Leave me alone. You know, and my mom is taking his phone and she's like, leave my husband alone. Yeah. But this is common. You know, like in the beginning when I started, tenants would always try and talk to me and become my friend, or, you know, with the girls, I swear, they try and sleep with you. They try and get something out of it, you know, maybe not to get rent. And obviously not all tenants.
Right.
But maybe like the daughter of a tenant that has no idea, you know, or something. They have this misconception that it's like you're very rich if you own real estate, which isn't the case. You're making, you know, you're working hard, you're putting your time in and money, and you're investing for the future in rentals. So this woman, she's like, I'm not going to pay the rent anymore. I don't want to pay the rent. My dad's not answering her. Obviously, he's ignoring her. We're doing the normal, every month she gets her invoice, and she goes, I'm not paying the rent anymore. I don't have to. It's COVID time. We're like, hey, we're going to file for an eviction if you don't pay the rent. Regardless, we're going to do it the legal route. You're a brand new tenant. I would rather you pay and stay here for a long time. We'll renew your lease. Well, there's no lease. We'll give you a lease. You know, we'll give you a lease as long as...
So you never started a lease?
No.
Oh, okay.
We never wanted to execute it with her, you know, in case this happened, exactly what happened. So she's like, I don't want to pay rent. We're like, okay, fine. So we sent her the delinquency forms and all this stuff. This psychopath lady hires somebody to beat up my dad.
No way.
Yeah, this is when it gets really bad. She finds out his address online.
Oh, God.
She hires somebody to beat up my dad. Somebody came to the house, left a note on the door that he's coming after my dad or something. My mom is petrified, right? And we're all like, what the hell? So my dad responds, like, he texts her now, like, you hired somebody to beat me up. And this woman's Hispanic. She barely speaks English. And the husband's nowhere in the picture. They weren't really married. Like, it was all a facade to get her an apartment, we found out. Or she illegally married him for the green card or something. Right. This woman really, like, is nuts. She caused us a huge mess. And when my father texted her and our property manager contacted her, she calls the police and she tells the police that my father's been harassing her, coming to the house, doing all these crazy things, which is not true at all. Not true at all. Like, he's got so much going on, so many properties we have going on that he has to work on every single day. And this woman's making up all these lies. So the police come to my dad's house with my mom. They're in the middle of the night, and they're like, you were just at this house, all this stuff. He's like, no, I wasn't. And they're like, yeah, here's the police report. Here's a warrant for, like, your arrest, and you're going to court. Something like that. And my dad's like, what are you guys talking about? So he's like, what tenant? We have so many tenants. I don't know which tenant you're even talking about. So they gave him the address. They gave him her name, and he goes, I have text to prove what's going on. So he gives the police his phone with all the text, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is a huge misunderstanding. When you go to court, tell the judge. And I'm not used to court, like with criminal stuff, and neither is my family. We've never gotten in criminal trouble, so we didn't know that once they write it, it's over. Like, you have to show up to court. It's a misdemeanor.
That sucks.
So we had to retain an attorney now for criminal court. He goes to court. The judge is filing it as a misdemeanor, but I mean, this is just blowing my mind now. That's what I was on the call about, because we don't know what to do now. Like, this should not be a misdemeanor.
It sucks because you have to hire an attorney, right?
You have to pay.
You're paying now to, like, defend yourself on this stupid charge.
On a fake claim for a landlord-tenant matter. Also, she can get out of paying rent.
Jeez.
What's her goal? Not to pay rent.
Yeah.
What's my goal? Collect rent or evict her? We're doing everything by law. This has never happened to me before. I'm doing this for 3.5, 4 years. I've dealt with crazy tenants before, squatters, evictions, everything. This is the first time I'm dealing with, like, criminal court for something totally made up, and I swear I feel like everything is on her side. What did we do at the end of the day? We sent her a notice. She hired somebody to beat up my dad. She calls the police first. We didn't loop in the police. Why am I going to loop in the police when it's a landlord-tenant matter. You know, I sent her the eviction notice, that we hired an eviction attorney, doing everything by the books. This guy came to the house. Other than freaking out my mom, which at that point they did go to the police, everything else it felt like it could have been waved off. You know, like she knows we're onto what she's doing, she'll stop, end of story. We don't have the time to deal with this. But instead, criminal court now, police, all this stuff is such a mess.
So this is just happening now, so you haven't been to court yet. That was the phone call just now.
Court was yesterday.
So what was the verdict?
He's knocking it down to a misdemeanor from a felony.
On who?
Against my father, but wait, I'm like, no. You know?
Yeah.
Or do we have to hire another attorney and get this, you know, like put together a legal team here or something? Because we're not getting charged with anything. We're not paying any fines. We're not doing anything. Yeah. This woman made up a claim. We have all the proof in the works, you know, like everything. It's just because she bumped into my father 3 months ago or 2 months ago and made up all this stuff. I swear, he hasn't been there in 2.5 months.
Jeez.
And this woman's claim was from like 2 weeks ago when we were going to Mexico the same day. We were literally packing to leave to Mexico, and he gets a knock on his door from the police. It's just blowing my mind. Like, I don't see how we could get in any trouble for this.
Yeah, that's the thing. Isn't it state by state? It's, you know, the tenant laws are different. Like, you know,
yeah.
Maybe because I know New York is bad. Like, I have some of my parents' friends have apartment complexes in Long Island as well, and they haven't been able to collect rent at all.
Really?
And they are actually just selling the building. Yeah.
Really?
They're selling it. Yeah.
In Long Island?
Yeah, in Long Island.
Do you know what building? Or what's their name?
I don't. I could get it to you, but I don't know the exact name. I know it's I'm pretty sure it's in somewhere between 8 or 16
units.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Your first commission.
Hey, but yeah, I don't know if it's sold already, but like that they're selling it because they're just like they're over it, you know. And I think they've had it. It's been in the family for a long time, so they never had to like go through the issue of buying it. That happens a lot, right? You know, families, you know, get handed down properties or something like that, or you know, siblings own it and they kind of want to get out of the business, and then you can buy it.
Yeah, real estate's super generational, and nepotism is as real as it gets in real estate.
Yeah,
it's like the most generational business I could ever imagine.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't buy in New York. Maybe I'll see if the tenant laws are better in Connecticut.
Yeah, I think they are better in Connecticut. I know they're way better in like the Midwest, Texas, Florida. They're landlord-friendly states.
That's the thing. I mean, with everyone, I was looking into, because I'm trying to do my research of what I really want to do long term, and I'm looking, and especially during this year, a lot of people are going down to Florida. What are your thoughts on like a large portion of people leaving, you know, New York in general, going down to Florida?
See, I'm not worried about New York because, you know, I have properties here and I feel the demand. Mm-hmm. There's always demand in New York.
Okay.
You know, there's that hidden side of it where it's like tenants that, you know, are not necessarily grade A, but they're grade B. And they have, you know, maybe they won't pass and they won't get into a 2-bedroom because there's 4 of them. And the village requires that it be 3 people. But, you know, as a landlord, a small landlord, people don't mind necessarily. Like, if you buy your first place, are you going to care if they have 4 people instead of 3? No. You don't care. You just care that they're going to pay you and take care of the place. So that's 1. 2 is like, you know, people that don't have credit, immigrants, or, you know, 20-year-olds that are making money that never went to college. You know, I don't discriminate whatsoever, like 0 at all. I had a tenant just move in that was married to an African-American man. She was white, and their kids are like white and black, but to me, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm just looking at the rent. And this woman's telling me how hard she's been discriminated, house by house by house. I'm like, you have a phenomenal business, you know, a phenomenal hair salon and nail salon. You're doing great. Your husband is a nurse. So what if he's black? I don't care, you know, and I gladly rented her one of my apartments. So there's like...
I'm surprised there's discrimination
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh, so much, more than you could ever imagine. Everywhere. Small landlords, a lot of them discriminate big time. I don't discriminate at all. You know, I have African American tenants, white tenants, Spanish tenants, everything under the sun. Because I don't care. You pass the test, the criteria, then you can have the apartment.
Yeah.
You know, and if you cause issues and it's problematic, I'll file for an eviction. But you know, I feel the demand here. Every time I list something, I get 20 people that jump on it right away, and that gives me the ability to be, you know, nitpick the right tenants. So I'm not worried about New York. Then you go down to Florida, they have like pockets. You know, everywhere else that I've been seeing outside of New York, honestly, other than New York, like I'm talking Long Island, the boroughs, and Manhattan, not upstate. Upstate has pockets too.
Right.
Where there isn't demand at all. You know, there's an apartment complex in the middle of an industrial center. And it's like, you might want that place because you can have industrial jobs and people that work in the industrial jobs, but then again, it's run down. Right next door is a car lot, all these issues. Nobody wants to live there.
Right.
So you have to balance. It becomes like a war zone type of property if you're not buying Class A or Class B buildings in great areas. Okay, now you go into a great area that's just got a random apartment complex. People want houses there. They're buying houses. Interest rates are at an all-time low, and not many people are necessarily moving to that area. You know, it's a pocket. If you find the right neighborhoods and you could focus on those neighborhoods, buying great apartment complexes there, or what I'm seeing is like really popular now is like single family home communities. Those are all over the Midwest too. Like I just found 56 units. It's 56 separate houses, all for rent in a gated community.
Wow.
That's interesting, you know, to me, because now you're stepping in. It's single family homes. Everybody feels like they have their own home. They have their own garden. They could put a pool there. They could have a play set and be on their own. And they're running away from the cities and going to these single family communities.
So if you were to buy something like that, you buy the whole place?
Yes.
Interesting.
There's wholesale deals where it's condos and somebody buys like, say, 42 of them. Now they run the condo board and they're selling you a package of 42. That means there's another like 12 if it's 54 units or 14 if it's 56 units left that's owned by somebody else. You know, maybe another investor or individual people, but you could buy the 42 units as a package.
Is that something you're looking into?
Yeah, I found a few in Houston that I'm looking at, and I think that's going to be like a great future addition to my portfolio.
I was going to say, Texas has been getting a lot as well. You know, not only Florida, but like it's like people from New York, from what I see, a lot of people are going to Florida. A lot of people from California are going to either Nevada or Texas.
Yes.
Not only from COVID, but also like just California's like their laws and their taxes and everything. So people are moving to tax-free states.
Yep.
You know, and so I feel like there's going to be such a huge, if not already, a huge boom in real estate in Texas and Nevada in the coming years. So portfolio like that might be really good.
Definitely, and it's so much you got to look into all the time. You know, like it is very difficult because first you have to do tons of market research. Once you identify the market, you need to find exactly where you want to be in that market because you're not going to go to one of those bad pockets, right? You're scared of that. I'm scared of that. And then you have to actually pull the trigger, figure out the management, all this stuff. So it's hard, it's work, but that's part of it. Yeah. You know, it's the same thing here in Long Island. The only difference is like the bad areas still have a ton of demand. You know, I don't care where you go in Long Island, there's demand.
Yeah.
It's crazy here. You know, I have a friend with a big portfolio in Connecticut, but he got into one of those bad pockets in New Haven.
Yeah,
and
I could see that.
He's really struggling.
Yeah, that's rough.
He went in, underwrote the entire portfolio, like rents are at $700 a unit right now. I'm going to bring it up to $950. I'm going to renovate this and that and everything. He did all the renovations. He got the right people out. Nobody wants his units. You know, nobody wants his apartments. So,
yeah, that's tough. It's a lot of market research, and I imagine now it's going to be, now that you're trying to expand, like doing the market research and not being there to like go and continuously check up on it and see what it's like. Is that going to be like multiple flights out there, or do you have someone kind of on the ground in there that you like talk to back and forth? How does that work?
You know, I got a mix right now. I actually do have people there, based there. Just so happens I have friends in Houston that I've known for 5-6 years. And my uncle lives there. He works at a tech company over there. Cool. He could always look out for me. But the real hope is that you hire the right property management company.
Yeah.
Because if you have the right property management company that you can manage from your home base, it's a home run. Because you could go once every 6 months, once a year, if you even want to. As long as they're running the show properly, do your inspection, get an idea of what's going on, have your quarterly reports or monthly reports coming in like clockwork, and you got something good going for you. You know, and that's the route I'm going to start going. I've been shooting out there to see the properties with my own eyes and meet the supers and who I'd be dealing with. And I swear, Cody, it's just like back home. I feel like I'm dealing with the same people, the same managers, the same supers, just like here. The only difference is they're paying less rent than what we're charging here in Long Island.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because one of the reasons I was kind of not hesitant, but I didn't want to start investing in New York was just because like it's a lot harder to get started when the prices are like that much more. Like, you know, the average house in Long Island is like what, $1 million or?
No, it's like around. I'd say it's around like 400,000 or 500,000 normal houses.
Yeah, just in general, the prices here are a lot more. You know, you go to Houston and you're able to buy
150.
150. It's
200.
Crazy amount.
I've been looking. When I'm looking in Houston, I'm finding these like apartment complexes that are right next to motels or something. Maybe they were converted. And I'm telling myself, why would I ever buy an apartment complex that, say, a unit rents out for $1,000 a month when the hotel next door is charging $12 a night and their average is $10, $12, $15 a night? I mean, personally, I would live in the hotel.
Yeah.
Free breakfast.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. There you go, right? You're way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Free breakfast. You got a room with Wi-Fi. They take care of everything. They even make your bed for you.
That's the best.
You know, and some of these hotels have kitchenettes. Why would I live right next door in an apartment complex for 2 or 3 times the price when the hotel next door is a third?
Yeah.
You know, you go to Manhattan, maybe not right now, but you go anywhere around here, hotels are $200 a night, $300 a night.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay $6,000 a month to stay in a hotel. I'd rather rent an apartment for $2,000 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's almost like a no-brainer. I'm just like doing these little analysis in my mind. You know, when I see things, I'm like, this just doesn't add up. I found an apartment complex, 160 units in Houston, in a fantastic neighborhood. Fantastic. The homes are selling for around $250,000 a piece, which is a little bit above average over there. And the units, he's selling the whole package is like $56,000 a door. I'm seriously underwriting that portfolio. My main concern is that it's going to take a ton of work.
A lot of fix up?
Yeah, a ton. And I don't know if it's too big of a pill to swallow as my first out-of-state investment. You know, I'd be comfortable doing 20 units, 30 units.
Right.
It's stuff I've managed back home. But 160 on the first leap might just be shooting myself in the foot.
Because you're not there to like manage the contractors and all that, right?
And I can't go there because I have so much in the pipeline here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that is interesting. Do you buy most of your places with the intent to fix them up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like really the best strategy, right?
Definitely, because that's my sweat equity.
Yeah.
Even if I barely have to put anything into it, 10 grand, what else can I do? You know, I bought one place for 440,000. I put into it 10,000, but I evicted everyone. That was the key. Evicting everybody, changed carpets, got market rate rent from Section 8 at the time, and then I rented out for a year and I flipped it for like $300,000 more.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That was a home run.
Yeah.
You know, to make almost made 100% on that deal in a year. I think it was 70% we made on that. But I put in my equity. I evicted everyone, which is rough, you know, when you're hands-on. At this point, I was very hands-on. Evicted everyone, put in 10 grand, changed the carpets. This is the lightest renovation I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling it. You know, I didn't want to sell it. But I had partners and everybody wanted something different. And you know what? The best route was to just liquidate it and move on. And I asked myself, would I buy it at this price? And the answer was no. So I sold it at that price.
Gotcha. One of the reasons I wanted to, I had mentioned earlier about like the whole commercial side is because it seems like with commercial, maybe this, I'm not in it, but so maybe this is just my thought, but when you're dealing with companies who are buying places or renting maybe office space, industrial space, they're a lot less emotional about buying something,
You're right.
especially since really they can write it off. Versus like someone who's buying a place and they're nickel and dime, everything. They're trying to get as low as they can for a cost of something. And so the turnaround for when you do fix up an office space, add new carpet, paint everything, you can then go and sell it for a couple $100,000 more in, a year, 6 months, whatever. And, you're able to do this one project versus dealing with a bunch of, tenants and having to deal with all their, complaints. And so maybe now I don't know about office space in the current state, but like an industrial space,
Why? In the right place? Office is great right now, in the right place.
Yeah, exactly. It really depends right now.
It's all location.
But
it's like if you're on this road where we are on 110, offices here are on fire. It's like,
Really?
Oh my God, this is like the office space, you know? This office that we're sitting in right now goes for $8,000 a month. And the whole building's full.
Jeez.
And nobody could get space in the middle of COVID, you know?
So it's things like that I was just thinking about long term is like maybe I'd eventually like to get into that kind of deal. Like Manny Koshman?
Of course. I went out to California, met with Manny and his brother Mazi. His brother Mazi is a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. Great guy.
Yeah.
I saw their cars with my own eyes.
Lucky.
Yeah, I've been in the Rolls Royces, everything. We've hung out a few times. They are big time.
Yeah.
But he's got, let me tell you, that guy's got balls of steel.
Yeah.
And he also came from nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I love his story. I found out about him recently. But not saying that, I'm going to get as lucky as he did with this recent deal that I was talking about, an office space building where he bought it for $10 million.
In Houston. I know which one you're talking about.
I think it was California.
Are you sure?
But maybe not. But he bought it for $10 million and then put, I think, $250 into it to fix it up, and then sold it for a profit of, I think, $2.2 million.
Is this the one with the bank? Did you?
No.
Okay, so it's
Different
not
one.
Houston.
Yeah. But within 6 months, he made $2 million profit of putting $250,000 in.
Yep.
And it was office space. And I don't know if I'm just naive, but that seems to be like when you do get some more money, that seems to be a really great return.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're saying lucky.
Yeah.
He did get very lucky with some deals. Like I can't help but think, like I find a deal, I want to go into it. It just doesn't make sense unless I get lucky. And to me, it's not worth it right now because I don't want to lose somebody else's money. If it's too big for me, I'm going to lose their money. Me, I'll swing the bat, but I don't have $4 million to lay out. So right now,
Yeah.
So if I find something that needs to take $4 million to lay out, I want it to be a solid deal. Like building condos that could be rentals in the Hamptons. Hamptons are on fire. I'm getting people begging me to buy it from me. I have a development going on out there right now. Mm-hmm. So I don't care if it takes another year to figure out and get the approvals on everything. People are dying to buy it from me right now at a fantastic profit.
Yeah.
So I'm not selling right now because I'm figuring it out. We might build it and keep it. We might build it, sell it off, and there's tons of profit in there. Manny, on the other hand, does a deal in California. I swear, this deal I didn't see it making any sense on paper when I looked at it. And Home Depot decided to go on like a growth rampage and in that specific Orange County area.
Yeah.
And Home Depot came in and decided to take the whole space. Wow. You get a tenant or a buyer like Home Depot, they don't care, about the little things.
Exactly. Clients like that, or obviously it's luck, but like that's like the ideal situation, I think.
That's luck. That's luck because he didn't know Home Depot was going to decide to focus on Orange County specifically and open 10 new locations in the next 6 months. So Home Depot's coming in, they go, you have 400,000 square feet, I want it. Done. This is market rate, this is what we'll give you. But that's market rate fixed up. That's not market rate, on a deal side. So I think he found this building. I think it was like 150,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the specifics, so don't quote me on this, but he buys a building with a hard money loan that was like 20%. I'm like, this guy is nuts. Yeah. I read this whole story about this one deal.
Yeah.
And I think he bought it for like $2.5 million. He's paid the hard money people like $500,000. He put into it like 400 grand of his own money. Before he's even done, Home Depot swoops in. They're like, we'll give you $8 million.
Wow.
I made $5 million in like 7-8 months. And I'm guessing, I'm taking a guess here. I think he thought he was in trouble. Like he did the deal and he's in there for like 7-8 months. And he's like, whoa, I'm probably made a mistake here.
Right.
You know, because now I have to rent out this building. I'm paying tons of interest and it's coming from his pocket. And then boom, Home Depot swoops in, pays him $5 million.
That one I could definitely see as extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does he do with the $5 million? He hedges it against whatever his investors are going to give him, and he goes way bigger. That's why he did very well. That's where the luck set aside the luck. You know, this is where his balls come in and his knowledge in real estate. And he became a behemoth. He went to Phoenix. He went to Houston. He went out of state, like all these places that he's never been. He's a Persian immigrant that came here with nothing, and all of a sudden he's putting in like $1 billion into real estate with money that's not his, and some of it's his, and he did really well. I have a ton of respect for that guy.
Yeah, so it's guys like that I'm like looking up to, like long term, like getting into that I think is really interesting, the whole commercial side of it.
Yep.
But
yeah, that is. And now you have to question, like, is it a huge mistake to get into commercial? You know what he owns now?
Exactly. What does he
owns
own?
Airstrips for like planes, airline strips or whatever. He owns marinas, things industrial. He has a lot of industrial space, and I don't think he has any apartments. But
I don't think he does either.
Things not necessarily.
Might not be good long term. Yeah.
No, they weren't affected by COVID that bad. Like, this is where luck comes in again. Like, what stopped him from keep buying, buy apartment complexes? He never even got into that. He just bought a marina.
Yeah, he started with like shopping centers too.
Yeah.
And like
now, if he started with shopping centers, he would have gone under. He would have been destroyed. The loans he took and all this stuff. If he bought a shopping center right now, pre-COVID, right? He was doing all these deals. He was our age again. He would get annihilated.
Yeah, he'd be destroyed. Man, he could see the future, I think.
I swear he sees the future. Buys a car for like $2 million. Everybody's like, you're on drugs. You're buying a $2 million car. This makes no sense. One of one, has them sign contracts. All of a sudden, it's worth $4 million. Like, what?
Yeah. Jeez. How do we get to that point?
Big risk.
I watched a video recently of his where I think he said in a year he spends $500,000 just on like insurance and taxes and stuff for all of his cars.
Wow.
Like $500,000 just to have them sit in his garage.
Wow. And mind you, he's not mega wealthy. He's not. If he has $100 million net worth and he's bringing in $400,000 a month or something like that, whatever it is from his rentals and everything, that is not mega wealth. Like, to have a $40 million car portfolio, a $50 million real estate portfolio, maybe $20 million in cash, like, I wouldn't want that.
I'm curious what percentage his cars make up of his entire assets.
I think it's like 30%,
Yeah.
he said, yeah.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't want that because I'm like, I want things that yield me money every month,
Yeah, that's my goal.
But this is the guy's like pure balls where he has a car that doubles in value because he knows what he's doing. It's very impressive.
Are you ever going to, you think, take your portfolio and move it to a different state completely, or are you always going to have some here?
I actually thought about this morning. That's so funny.
Yeah.
You brought that up. So funny. I think I'm going to keep some here. Smaller multifamily, bigger multifamily if I could get my hands on them. It's very difficult in Long Island. There's like 3 main players that annihilate the competition. Their brothers or their family started the business, passed it down. It's very difficult for me to compete with 150 years of real estate developers. They bought something 100 years ago that today is a fortune.
Yeah.
And back then it was dirt. I'm doing my best, but it's hard, so I could see myself keeping very good real estate here, and start selling off things that are better for beginners so I can move that on and buy, pull the Koshman card to take, say $1 million, put it up and have investors put up $9 million. So my money's in there, my $1 million. I'm doing all the work. They put up, say, $4 to $9 million, right? And I buy 200 units in Houston or something, very close to each other, and try it out. You know, I think obviously, like we talked about, I'm going to start small. Maybe I'll buy 20 units, 30 units, something like that. Feel it out, and then scale up from there. Here is just so difficult. You go into Manhattan, I'm competing with guys like the private equity guys. I'm not a private equity guy. Those guys have access to hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes even billions of dollars. They underwrite deals that to me I couldn't do because my money's much more expensive than theirs. And they'll write off a hotel. Blackstone. They just wrote off a $240 million hotel. He goes, this is a small asset for us. What? You know, to me, I don't even have, that's not even near, I don't have close to a $240 million in real estate, not even close. You know, and they just wrote it off. They lost it. Like they're giving it back to the lender.
Wow.
So how can you compete with those guys? You know, you need to figure it out. You need to scale. It takes time in real estate. You can't get away from it unless you're in the tech side of real estate. You know, if you own prop tech or like Airbnb and shit like that, that's...
Have you done any of those? Airbnbs?
No, I'm not into it. I've looked into it. It's not for me. I'm way more of a principal. You know, I want to have scale. I don't want to deal with temporary.
Day-to-day.
I didn't want to get into that.
Makes sense. Yeah. I looked into that only because I was staying in Airbnbs like my whole life. But I looked into it for a while, but then I ultimately decided it was too much of a headache. Like it's too much day-to-day work and upkeep to like be looking into, and I wanted to have something that was like long-term tenants. So
same boat. And you see, I could see you or like Steve doing something like that much more because you have that passion for traveling.
Yeah, my passion is though I want to buy properties around the world. But have long-term tenants as well.
Got it.
I don't know how realistic it is because I don't know the laws of other countries.
But hey, you could go to Costa Rica and hand off your property to a very well-known property management company that leases out mansions.
Yeah.
Let's assume.
Yeah, and that's my goal. There's a couple of guys I watch who do it, you know, and they have places, you know, they have like 3 main houses across the world that they can go to, and then during the year they kind of rent them out, but they also buy properties in other countries that are up and coming, and then they make huge gains on them.
I think that would be great for you because, you know what, you have that edge. You love that traveling.
Yeah, and so it's something I definitely want to get into long term.
Big time. I would love to see you do that because, 1, you love to travel. 2, you understand locations. You know, those are things that I can't pick up on. I can't go to whatever country and understand
There's a place right now I want to buy if I had the money. It's the new Bali. It's the up-and-coming Bali. It's like things like that where I think I would have the advantage. It's called Siargao in the Philippines.
Okay.
I would have bought property there 3 years ago when I first went.
You've been there?
Yeah, many times.
Really?
It's the new Bali.
Yeah, it's gonna explode, guaranteed.
If I and I was talking to someone from.
How much is a house there?
I don't know. You buy land there now. There's like not many houses. You could buy land there for like less than 100,000 good plots of land. Like, and I know someone. I met someone in Manila last year who bought a place and is putting a hotel on it. And she was like my age, but like she borrowed some money, bought this land, and like within a year, like the price of the land just doubled. She hadn't even done anything yet.
Wow.
And so it's things like that where like when you know the inside of like where the market is going. Because, you know, Bali, it's starting to get a little overpriced, you know, but everyone wants to go there and everyone likes that kind of lifestyle. But this place, if I had the money and the capital at the time and I knew more about real estate, I would have definitely bought land there.
But now, what's holding you back? Go now.
I want to. It's COVID, kind of. I'd get locked there for a couple months. It's very strict over there right now.
Got it.
Manila. But yeah, it's something I'm thinking about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I would love to, I guess, passively invest in something like that. Like if you're going there and you're raising money or whatever to do a deal.
I'll hit you up when it happens.
Yeah,
we'll
reach
go
out
there
to
and
me.
make some good videos.
Yeah, hell yeah. I would love to see, that's where I would step in and passively invest.
Yeah.
I'll invest in, because I believe in like you and Steve's opinion of where is next up and coming. We'll run this, you know, stats, check everything out.
Right.
See how it's actually growing on paper, and then check it out a few times. That would be fun. And put up a few $100,000 and do something awesome over there.
Yeah.
You know, that's cool. But somebody like you or Steve has to want to do that, you know, and be there and go back and forth. Otherwise, me, I'd fail miserably.
Yeah.
You know, but you, on the other hand, wouldn't, because you could go there, you understand the culture, you know, you'll meet the people, and then you have to loop in with the politics.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like figuring out the politics. And like with Bali, like foreigners can't own property, like ever. You can buy the average is a 30-year leasehold. So you own the rights to the house for 30 years, but you can never own the land, which is the issue with Bali. Like people are going there, foreigners are going there and living like long term, and they're investing all this money, but like they don't own the property. And I guess it's good for the the Indonesian people, so that foreigners don't just come and buy the entire island.
Yep.
So you can never own it. So like that's something I'd have to look at. That's the thing with the Philippines as well.
Look into it and let me know. I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, I'll look into that one. Sure.
I would love to.
Cut this. We gotta go buy all the land real quick. But yeah. So that's something I'd like to get into, is like the whole buying in up and coming markets. I think that would probably be my greatest advantage right now.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right, man.
It's been good.
Great. Yeah, hell yeah.
It's been good.
This is great.
How long has this been
meeting and
going on?
talking. I have no idea.
A long time.
Well, that brings us to the end of our first guest-based podcast on Talk Shop with Allon Avgi. I hope you guys enjoyed. Cody's a unique guy. He's a world traveler and based back now in New York City. So I'm happy to have him locally. We're definitely going to do more things together and connect. We've already scheduled a walkthrough of one of my properties and get more content out there. Wherever you guys are listening, if you can subscribe, please do. If you guys can share this, please do. It'll help us grow our audience. This is going to be the second podcast released, so it's super important that we build that audience right now. It's vital. We have many more coming, and if you guys liked what you listened to, give Cody a follow. DM him on Instagram or something that you guys heard this podcast, and especially if you have questions, I bet he'd be happy to answer. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next one is coming up soon.